is about your daughter?
Anything like this to happen, let alone the attention that it's gotten.
No one ever expects something like this to happen, let alone for it to capture the kind of global attention it did. For those closest to the situation, the experience felt deeply surreal, like watching a nightmare unfold in slow motion while the entire world looked on. When asked about their daughter, there is a pause, a heaviness in the air, followed by applause in the background that feels almost out of place against the gravity of the moment. Music fills the silence, but it does little to soften the pain, behind the words that follow. In a way, the world has come to know Gabby. Her face, her smile, her carefully curated moments of joy shared online. For her family, that widespread recognition brings a strange kind of comfort, yet it is bittersweet. They remember her not as a headline or a symbol, but as a person, beautiful, creative, artistic, and incredibly talented. She was genuine in a way that drew people to her, someone who was deeply loved by everyone who knew her. Gabby was full of life, even if she sometimes preferred staying in her own space. She had a bubbly, energetic, and adventurous spirit, and she dreamed of sharing her life with the world. In that sense, she succeeded. But tragically, not in the way she had envisioned. The images she left behind tell a story she wanted people to see. Moments of peace, stretching in the morning light, practicing yoga outdoors, appearing calm and happy. To an outsider, it all looked idyllic, a life many would envy. But reality is often more complicated than what appears on a screen. While those images remain, they are now impossible to view without the knowledge of what followed. They have become haunting reminders of a life that seemed perfect, but was far more fragile beneath the surface. Watching such a story unfold is confronting. It's like witnessing a disaster in real time. Painful, yet impossible to ignore. This was a case filled with unexpected twists and turns, one that gripped people across the globe. Two individuals set out on a journey together, but only one returned. Gabby lost her life, and so did her fiancé, the man who was supposed to love and protect her, but who is believed to have taken her life. She was once described as a bright, shining star, and now she is remembered as one, a symbol of a life cut tragically short. Her family struggles to process what happened. The questions are overwhelming. How did it come to this? What went wrong? For some, it feels like a murder in slow motion, a tragedy that might have been prevented if warning signs had been recognized and acted upon. There were moments, clear, indicators that something wasn't right. Altercations were witnessed. Tensions were visible. It raises painful questions about whether Gabby could have been saved. In the months following her death, her family has been navigating immense grief while trying to ensure the world understands who Gabby truly was. To the public, she may be known through photos and videos, but to them, she is still the little girl with blonde hair, bright blue eyes, and a constant smile. They remember her as joyful, full of energy, and always surrounded by friends. She had a vibrant personality, a spitfire as they describe her, always busy, always engaged in life. She loved school, cherished her friendships, and had a remarkable talent for art. Gabby grew up in a loving, blended family, surrounded by parents and step-parents who adored her. Her laughter was infectious, her smile unforgettable. Even when she found herself in trouble, it was hard to stay upset with her. Her charm made it nearly impossible. She had a way of drawing people into her world, encouraging them to embrace adventure. Whether it was a spontaneous road trip, a visit to the beach, or simply watching the sunrise or sunset, Gabby found beauty in the little things, and wanted others to experience it too. It came as no surprise to her family when she decided to embark on a cross-country journey in a van. Adventure was in her nature. At 22 years old, she wasn't just chasing a dream, she was sharing it. Through social media, she invited others to join her, documenting her travels and experiences. Her goal was to inspire people, to show them the beauty of exploration and the joy of living freely. By her side throughout this journey was her fiancé, someone she had known since high school. Their relationship had developed over time, eventually turning romantic after they reconnected. To her family, he seemed polite, quiet, and unassuming. They believed she was in safe hands, which gave them some peace of mind as she traveled far from home. For weeks, the couple explored breathtaking locations across the country, creating memories and sharing them with followers. Gabby stayed in regular contact with her family, sending messages, photos, and updates about their journey. Her parents were both proud and amazed by what she was doing, though like any parents, they had concerns. They reminded her to stay safe, to be cautious, and to remain aware of her surroundings. Still, they trusted that she would be okay, especially with her partner by her side. That sense of security would later prove tragically misplaced. About 6 weeks into the trip, the first, visible cracks began to appear. Reports of a domestic dispute emerged, with witnesses describing an altercation between the couple. Police body camera footage later revealed a deeply troubling interaction. Gabby appeared distressed, emotional, and overwhelmed, while her partner remained calm and composed. Despite visible signs of conflict, the situation was not treated with the urgency it may have required. Experts who later analyzed the footage suggested that patterns of control and manipulation were evident. Gabby, like many in similar situations, appeared to downplay the severity of what was happening, even taking responsibility for parts of the conflict. It's a dynamic often seen in abusive relationships, one that can be difficult to recognize from the outside. The police ultimately separated the couple for the night, but took no further action. In hindsight, many believe this was a missed opportunity, one of several moments where intervention might have changed the outcome. Her family, watching the footage later, found it heartbreaking. They saw a young woman in need of protection, someone who deserved help but didn't receive it. Despite this incident, the couple continued their journey. They posted more photos, more videos, smiling, exploring, appearing happy. But beneath the surface, tensions were escalating. Witnesses later recalled seeing Gabby visibly upset during encounters in public, while her partner displayed signs of anger and agitation. Eventually, communication with Gabby stopped. At first, her family tried to remain calm, assuming she might be in an area without signal. But as days passed without any contact, concern grew into fear. When attempts to reach her failed, they turned to her fiancé and his family, only to be met with silence. When Gabby was officially reported missing, a shocking detail emerged. Her fiancé had already returned home, without her. He refused to cooperate with authorities, and his family also remained silent. This lack of information intensified the situation, drawing widespread media attention and public interest. The search for Gabby became a nationwide effort, fueled not only by law enforcement, but also by online communities. People analyzed her social media posts, looking for clues. Travelers who had crossed paths with the couple reviewed their footage, hoping to find anything that could help. Eventually, a breakthrough came when a couple discovered footage showing Gabby's van parked in a remote area. Authorities were alerted, and a search of the location led to a devastating discovery. Human remains consistent with Gabby were found nearby. For her family, the confirmation was unimaginable. Nothing could prepare them for the moment they were told she was gone. The pain of losing a child is indescribable, and the circumstances surrounding her death only deepened the anguish. An autopsy later confirmed what many had feared. Gabby had been murdered. Attention then turned to finding the person responsible. Her fiancé became the focus of the investigation, but before authorities could apprehend him, he disappeared. A massive search operation followed, spanning vast areas and involving numerous resources. Weeks later, his remains were discovered, bringing an end to the manhunt, but leaving many questions unanswered. In the aftermath, Gabby's family has chosen to focus on honoring her memory and creating change. They have worked to raise awareness about domestic violence and missing persons, hoping that her story can help prevent similar tragedies in the future. Gabby wanted to share her life with the world, to inspire others, to spread joy, and to encourage people to embrace adventure. In a heartbreaking way, her story has reached millions, leaving a lasting impact far beyond what she could have imagined. Her legacy is not defined by how she died, but by how she lived, with passion, creativity, and a deep love for life. And through the efforts of those who loved her, that legacy continues to make a difference. Without her. That single detail changed everything. What had started as concern quickly escalated into fear, suspicion, and urgency. How could someone return from a cross-country trip alone and offer no explanation? Why wasn't he cooperating? These questions echoed not only in the minds of Gabby's family, but across the entire country as the story began to dominate headlines. As the investigation intensified, the case transformed into something much larger than a missing person report. It became a national obsession. News channels ran continuous coverage. Social media platforms exploded with theories, and everyday people became deeply invested in finding answers. Millions followed each development in real time, hoping for a breakthrough, hoping for a miracle. But beneath the headlines and online speculation, there was a family living through unimaginable pain. For Gabby's parents, every moment without answers felt unbearable. They weren't just watching a news story, they were living it. Each passing day without contact deepened their fear that something terrible had happened. Still, they held on to hope because the alternative was too devastating to accept. At the same time, public attention turned toward Gabby's fiancé and his family. Their silence became one of the most controversial aspects of the case. Refusing to speak to investigators or Gabby's family, they created a wall of unanswered questions. For many, it felt not just frustrating, but deeply troubling. People struggled to understand how anyone could remain silent under such circumstances. As pressure mounted, law enforcement agencies worked around the clock. Search teams combed through vast areas, following every possible lead. Investigators analyzed phone records, retraced travel routes, and interviewed witnesses who had crossed paths with the couple. Every detail mattered. Every clue could be the one that led to Gabby. Meanwhile, something unprecedented was happening online. Ordinary people were becoming digital detectives. Social media users examined Gabby's posts, zoomed in on background, details, tracked timelines, and even revisited their own travel footage in hopes of spotting something relevant. This collective effort became a powerful force, one that would eventually play a crucial role in the case. The turning point came when a travel vlogger reviewed footage from their trip and noticed a familiar white van parked in a remote area. It was subtle, easy to miss, but it was enough. Authorities were alerted, and suddenly the search had a direction. What followed was both a breakthrough and a heartbreak. In a remote, breathtaking landscape, far from the world Gabby knew, investigators made a discovery. Human remains were found. The location, the circumstances, everything pointed towards the conclusion her family had feared but prayed against. When the confirmation came, it shattered any remaining hope. For her parents, that moment marked the beginning of a new kind of pain. The uncertainty was gone, but in its place was a devastating reality. Their daughter was not coming home. As the investigation continued, the focus shifted entirely toward accountability. Authorities named her fiancé as a person of interest, but before he could be questioned, he disappeared. What followed was another massive search, this time for him. The situation grew even more complex, raising new questions and intensifying public interest. Weeks passed. Search teams navigated difficult terrain, battling weather and time. The longer it went on, the more people wondered. Was he hiding? Was he alive? Would there ever be answers? Eventually, that search also came to an end. Human remains were discovered in a nature reserve, along with personal items linking them to Gabby's fiancé. The manhunt was over, but instead of answers, it left behind silence. With his death, many of the questions that had haunted this case would likely never be answered. For Gabby's family, this was another painful chapter. Not only had they lost their daughter, but the opportunity for justice, for a full understanding of what happened, was gone. The truth, in many ways, was buried along with those involved. And yet, even in the face of such loss, her family made a decision that would define Gabby's legacy. They chose to speak out. They chose to turn their grief into purpose. Through interviews, public appearances, and advocacy work, they began raising awareness about domestic violence, coercive control, and the warning signs that so often go unnoticed. They wanted the world to understand that Gabby's story was not an isolated tragedy. It was part of a much larger issue affecting countless individuals every day. They also highlighted another difficult truth. Not every missing person receives the same level of attention. While Gabby's case captured global headlines, many others remain unsolved and overlooked. Her family has worked to ensure that her story helps bring attention to those cases as well, pushing for equal awareness and action. In the months and years since, Gabby's name has become more than just a headline. It has become a symbol, a reminder of how quickly things can change, how easily warning signs can be missed, and how important it is to listen, to act, and to protect those who may be at risk. But beyond all of that, she remains what she always was to those who loved her most. A daughter with a bright smile, a young woman with dreams, an artist with talent, and a soul full of life. Her story began as an adventure, a journey across the country filled with hope and excitement. It ended in tragedy, but the impact she has left behind continues to grow, reaching people across the world and inspiring conversations that truly matter. And perhaps that is the most powerful part of all. Because even though her life was taken, far too soon, her voice, through her story, through her family, through the awareness she has created, continues to be heard. And in that, she is never truly gone. And even after everything that has come to light, there are still lingering questions. Questions that may never be fully answered. What truly happened in those final moments? What was said? What was felt? What pushed things beyond the point of no return? These are the kinds of questions that haunt not just investigators, but anyone who has followed this story closely. Because, at its core, this isn't just a case. It's a human story, filled with emotion, complexity, and tragedy. For many, one of the most difficult aspects to understand is how something that appeared so perfect on the outside could unravel so completely. Behind closed doors, the images, the videos, the smiles, they painted a picture of happiness, of freedom, of young love exploring the world together. But as more details emerged, that image began to crack, revealing a very different reality underneath. This contrast has forced people everywhere to rethink how they interpret what they see online. Social media often shows the highlights, the best moments, the most beautiful scenes, but it rarely captures the struggles, the arguments, the fear. Gabby's story has become a powerful example of that disconnect, reminding people that reality is often far more complicated than what appears on a screen. At the same time, experts have pointed to the dynamics within the relationship as a critical factor. Patterns of control, emotional strain, and escalating conflict are not always obvious in the moment, especially to those experiencing them. They can develop gradually, making it difficult to recognize just how serious things have become until it's too late. In many ways, this case has opened up a broader conversation about how these patterns form and why they are so often misunderstood. There's also the question of intervention, of the moments where something might have been done differently. The police encounter, the witness reports, the visible signs of distress, each one represents a point in time where the outcome might have changed. It's easy, in hindsight, to see these as missed opportunities. But in reality, these situations are often complicated, filled with uncertainty and difficult judgment calls. Still, the idea that this tragedy might have been preventable is something that continues to resonate deeply. It's what drives so many of the conversations happening now, about awareness, about education, and about the importance of taking warning signs seriously. Because if there's one thing people have taken from this story, it's that early action can make a difference. As the public continues to reflect on what happened, Gabby's story has taken on a new meaning. It's no longer just about the events themselves, but about what can be learned from them. It's about recognizing patterns, supporting those who may be vulnerable, and creating systems that respond more effectively when concerns are raised. For her family, this has become a mission. Through their advocacy, they are working to ensure that Gabby's story leads to real change. They speak not only for her, but for others who may not have a voice. Their message is clear: pay attention, ask questions, and don't ignore the signs. They have also emphasized the importance of compassion, of understanding that situations like this are rarely simple. People on the outside may not always see the full picture, and those involved may be dealing with fears and pressures that are hard to articulate. Creating an environment where people feel safe to speak up is a crucial part of preventing future tragedies. At the heart of it all is a desire to turn loss into something meaningful, to ensure that Gabby's life, and the way it ended, serves a purpose beyond the tragedy itself. And in many ways, that is already happening. Her story has reached millions, sparked conversations across the world, and encouraged people to look more closely at the relationships and situations around them. Even now, long after the headlines have faded, the impact remains. People still talk about her story, still reflect on what it revealed, and still carry the lessons it taught. That kind of lasting influence is rare, and it speaks to the depth of connection people felt to her, even if they never knew her personally. Because, in the end, Gabby wasn't just a figure in a news story. She was someone people could relate to. A young woman with dreams, with hopes, with a desire to experience the world and share it with others. That relatability is what made her story resonate so deeply, and it's what continues to keep her memory alive. And perhaps that is where the focus now belongs. Not just on how her story ended, but on what it has become. A catalyst for awareness. A call to action. A reminder that behind every headline is a real person, with a real life and people who love them. As difficult as it is to accept, not every question will be answered. Not every detail will be known. But what can be known, what can be carried forward, is the impact of her story and the importance of learning from it. Because if even one life can be saved, if even one person recognizes the signs and gets help because of what happened here, then her story will have made a difference in the most meaningful way possible. And that is a legacy that will endure. As time passes, the story continues to echo in ways few could have anticipated. What began as a missing person case has evolved into something far more profound, a reflection of modern relationships, the influence of social media, and the urgent need for awareness around emotional and physical safety. Even now, long after the initial headlines, people continue to revisit the details, searching not just for answers, but for understanding. One of the most striking elements of this case is how deeply it resonated with ordinary people. Perhaps it was the relatability. A young couple chasing a dream, documenting their journey, living a life many aspire to. It felt familiar, almost like something anyone could imagine themselves doing. That sense of familiarity is what made the outcome so unsettling. It shattered the illusion that tragedy only happens to others, in distant or disconnected circumstances. Instead, it showed just how close to home these situations can be. There is also a lingering emotional weight tied to the digital footprint left behind. Gabby's videos, photos, and posts still exist, frozen in time. They capture moments of laughter, beauty, and exploration, but they also carry a haunting quality now. Knowing what happened later changes how those moments are perceived. What once felt light and joyful now feels layered with complexity, as viewers search for hidden meanings or signs that were missed. This has led to an important cultural shift in how people engage with online content. More than ever, there is an awareness that social media is a curated space, a highlight reel rather than a full reality. Gabby's story has encouraged people to question what they see, to look beyond appearances, and to approach online narratives with a deeper sense of understanding. It has also sparked conversations about the pressure to present a perfect life, and how that pressure can sometimes mask deeper struggles. Beyond the digital world, the case has also shed light on the psychological aspects of relationships. Experts have discussed how patterns of behavior, such as control, isolation, and emotional dependency, can develop gradually and subtly. These patterns are not always easy to identify, especially for those experiencing them firsthand. Often, they are intertwined with moments of affection and normalcy, making it difficult to distinguish between what is healthy and what is harmful. This complexity is part of what makes situations like this so challenging. From the outside, it may seem obvious that something is wrong, but from within, it can feel confusing, even normal. That is why education and awareness are so critical. Understanding the early signs of unhealthy dynamics can empower individuals to seek help before things escalate. Another important aspect of this story is the role of community, both in real life and online. The collective effort to find Gabby demonstrated the power of people coming together for a common purpose. Strangers became allies, sharing information, analyzing clues, and supporting one another in the search for truth. It was a reminder that, even in a digital age, human connection remains a powerful force. However, this same collective attention also raised ethical questions. The line between awareness and intrusion can sometimes blur, especially when a case receives widespread public interest. Speculation, assumptions, and misinformation can spread quickly, sometimes causing additional pain for those directly involved. It highlights the importance of balancing curiosity with compassion, ensuring that the focus remains on seeking truth rather than fueling sensationalism. For Gabby's family, navigating this level of attention has been both a challenge and a responsibility. On one hand, the visibility has helped bring answers and accountability. On the other, it has meant grieving in the public eye, with every detail of their loss examined and discussed. Despite this, they have continued to show remarkable strength, choosing to use their platform to advocate for change. Their efforts have already begun to make an impact. By sharing their story, they have encouraged conversations about safety, support systems, and the importance of listening to instincts. They have also emphasized the need for better resources and responses when concerns are raised, pushing for improvements that could help prevent future tragedies. In many ways, this case has become a turning point. It has brought attention to issues that are often overlooked or misunderstood, and it has inspired people to think differently about the relationships and situations around them. It has also reinforced the idea that awareness is not just about knowledge, it's about action. Recognizing a problem is only the first step. Responding to it is what truly makes a difference. As the story continues to be told, it carries with it a sense of responsibility. Not just to remember what happened, but to learn from it. To take the lessons and apply them in meaningful ways, whether that means supporting someone in need, speaking up when something doesn't feel right, or simply being more attentive to the people around us. At its heart, this is a story about a life that mattered. A life filled with potential, creativity, and a desire to connect with the world. While the way it ended is undeniably tragic, it does not erase the impact that life has had. If anything, it amplifies it, turning it into a force for awareness, change, and reflection. And so, even as time moves forward, the story does not fade. It evolves. It continues to reach new people, to spark new conversations, and to inspire new understanding. It reminds us that behind every story like this is a person who deserved safety, happiness, and a future. That reminder is powerful. It challenges us to do better, to be more aware, more compassionate, and more willing to act when it matters most. Because, ultimately, the value of a story like this lies not just in what it reveals, but in what it inspires. And if it inspires even one person to recognize a warning sign, to ask for help, or to step in when something feels wrong, then its impact will continue to grow in ways that truly matter. That is how a legacy is built, not just through memory, but through change.